You know, the air in that courtroom, you can almost feel the tension, right? Especially when a key witness takes the stand.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Particularly someone from deep inside an inner circle.
Exactly. And today, we're doing a deep dive into the source material you sent over, focusing on just that.
Pulling out the key information, the significant points.
Yeah, the essential nuggets. Our mission for this deep dive, it's to really unpack what was presented on day 10 of that federal trial involving Sean Diddy Combs.
And focusing specifically on the testimony of Capricorn Clark, his former assistant. It was pretty extensive.
Mm-hmm. But before we get to Clark, the source gives us a bit of context from day 9, which I think helps set the scene.
Definitely. It gives you a feel for what the jury heard just before Clark testified.
So the source mentions George Kaplan first, another former assistant, and he testified under immunity.
Right, meaning he's protected from prosecution for what he said on the stand.
And he alleged Diddy physically assaulted Cassie on a jet and also instructed him to get creams.
He had to hide facial bruises on Cassie. And he also claimed Diddy assaulted his girlfriend Gina, apparently with green apples.
That's what the source says. Kaplan apparently testified he left because he was tired of covering things up.
Right. Then the source shifts to Kid Cudi's testimony. He talked about his relationship with Cassie.
Said he got a panicked call from her after Diddy found out, rushed her to a hotel.
And then later got that disturbing call from Capricorn Clark saying Diddy and someone else broke into his home.
Yeah, Cudi testified, according to the source, that Diddy went through his house, opened Christmas gifts, terrorized his dog. Just awful stuff.
And left before the police got there. This was all before that Molotov cocktail incident with Cudi's car.
After which, Cudi said, you know, backed away from Cassie for good.
The source also mentioned Mela Morales, Cassie's makeup artist,
Right. She described seeing visible bruises on Cassie's face.
and testified she believed they were caused by Diddy, even claiming she saw an assault happen.
Though the source notes the defense really challenged her on that, pointing out she'd done paid interviews before.
Mm-hmm. Credibility questions.
Hmm.
Then there was Frederick Semur, a hotel manager,
Oh yeah, the weird requests. Keep the room exactly 75 degrees.
and constantly misting air freshener, covering up smells, apparently.
And finally, HSI agent Josh Croft, whose testimony about getting data off Cassie's laptop was described by the source as, well, pretty uneventful.
So all this testimony, days 9 and 10, it's happening against this backdrop of really intense legal fights that the source details.
Yeah, the pre-trial motions, battling over what the jury even gets to see.
Like the defense wanting to show photos of Cassie looking happy working.
Trying to argue, see, she wasn't trafficked or controlled.
But the prosecutors pushed back hard, basically saying photos don't mean anything about consent or abuse.
And there was that whole debate mentioned in the source about Kid Cudi's opinion, whether he could say he thought Diddy was lying about the car bombing.
Right, is that admissible? And the fight over the female DNA found on the Molotov bottle.
The defense wanted that mention, maybe implying it wasn't Diddy.
But the government argued it was hearsay, potentially misleading. The source says the judge allowed it for that witness, at least for the moment.
It really underscores what the source said. Both sides are fighting tooth and nail over every single detail.
Which, yeah, brings us right to Capricorn Clark. The source paints her as this longtime insider.
Highly anticipated testimony. The source even said Diddy was reportedly pressed, knowing she was up next.
So let's dive in. Our mission here is to unpack what Clark alleged on the stand, based only on the source material you've given us.
Okay, so starting with her background, where does she come from?
Well, she testified she grew up in San Francisco, then moved to L.A., had a background in the music industry already.
Def Jam and then Death Row Records. The source called it a late 90s gangster rap label.
Yeah, definitely a different world. She also mentioned a connection to Suge Knight.
Said he was the father of a friend's child. Then she moved to New York in 2002, met Diddy.
Initially just friends, platonic, she said. Then in 2004, she got hired through a headhunter.
As a personal assistant. And that role sounds intense, shadowing him from the moment he woke up.
Then she moved into other roles. Head of women's for Sean John for about a year.
Had global brand director for his name and likeness. But the source says she was terminated at some point.
Yeah, terminated, came back, terminated again, then returned in 2016 to work specifically for Cassie. It's a complicated history.
Okay, but let's go back to that first job in 2004. Her first day sounds unsettling.
Extremely. She testified Diddy took her to Central Park after dark with someone called Uncle Paulie.
Who she described physically and said he always wore blackout shades.
And in the park, she alleges Diddy brings up her past Suge Knight connection.
And basically threatens her. saying if anything happened because of it, he might have to unalive her.
That's the word she used, according to the source.
Yeah.
She testified she took it very seriously, that it gravitased.
Her reaction was basically, I have nothing to do with that stuff anymore.
Wow, what an introduction. Yeah, and it didn't get less intense. Just a few months later, in 2004, she gets accused of theft.
This is the diamond jewelry incident, on loan from Jacob the jeweler, Jacob Baribeau.
Right, for Diddy. And it went missing.
She testified she was at Teterboro Airport, called 1440, sounds like some internal security or operations number,
Told him to lock it down, but then Uncle Paulie apparently questioned her for 3 hours.
and then took her home to Queens and searched her house.
According to her testimony, yes. Then he took her to this building, 1710 Broadway.
Which she described as dilapidated, being fixed up.
Took her to the 6th floor, locked the door behind them, Stark sitting inside.
Folding table, and this heavy-set man she described as huge. 5 of me, 2 linebackers, chain smoking.
Uncle Paulie popping in and out. The man tells her she's there for a lie detector test.
And the threat, if she failed,
Yeah.
terrifying. Said they would throw me in the East River.
Yeah. She testified she was terrified, didn't want to take it, afraid of what might happen regardless of the truth.
She described being wired up, asked about stealing the jewelry.
And then the guy apparently says he couldn't get a good reading and repeats the threat about the East River.
And she testified she wasn't allowed to leave. For 5 days.
5 days. Paul said no. Presumably Uncle Paulie. She didn't tell anyone, just tried to survive it, she said.
After 5 days, she's just told she can go back to work. Diddy will see her next week.
That's her testimony. And she said Diddy never, ever discussed it with her.
Why stay after that? Her reason was fear, right? That leaving would make them think she actually stole it.
Exactly. Speaks volumes about the alleged control she felt under.
So moving on from that specific ordeal, what about just the day-to-day working conditions?
She described grueling days. Starting at his townhouse, 74th and Park, morning.
Ending late at Daddy's house studio at night.
Sleep. Minimal. 4 hours good, 2 hours bad, she testified. Said she developed a stress condition from it all.
And the pay. $55,000 a year, she said. But HR told her she was owed $80,000 in overtime.
That's what she claimed. And when she showed Diddy the HR paperwork.
He allegedly ripped it up.
Yeah. She also talked about arranging hotel stays for Diddy and Kim Porter, maybe once a week.
Using aliases, Frank Black, Frank White, Jackie Starr. Specific hotels mentioned, too.
Intercontinental Buckhead in Atlanta, Beverly Hills Hotel in L.A., and later, with Cassie, similar stays mentioned. La Mirage, the London Intercontinental, and something called the IB Drip. The source didn't explain that.
And the bag she took, always a camera, baby oil, lube. Cameras every time, she specified.
Her job afterwards included checking the room for anything left behind, any damage. Specifically mentioned cleaning up baby oil.
Beyond the workload, her testimony included allegations of witnessing violence.
General claims, yeah. Said Diddy was often violent with staff, fighting with both men and women.
Specific examples like throwing phones at security staff, a barber, when he was upset.
And she recounted an incident involving herself summer 2006. He got upset she took too long on an errand.
Allegedly told her, see, your problem is you want to have a life and you can't have that here.
Then a chef relayed her frustrated comment, I hate it here, back at Diddy.
And that's when she alleges he charged her, ran towards her, pushed her back forcefully on the shoulders.
And yelled, if you hate it here, get the fuck out of my house. The source noted her voice shook, recalling this.
There was another alleged incident she described, this one in L.A., with Lauren London present.
Right. Schiff Jordan in another room. Diddy calls Cassie over, has her do some task, walk back and forth.
She does it. Then Diddy allegedly says, you bitches won't do that. That's why you don't have a man.
Clark's alleged response. You motherfucking right. And she stated Lauren London was right there.
Clark also testified about alleged drug procurement. Said Diddy got drugs from a girlfriend or a one-stop.
Molly, ecstasy mentioned. Delivered either to Puff or to me, she said.
And she testified he asked her directly to get drugs for him once. Coquina in the south of France.
Yeah, but she refused. Said she asked for who, and wouldn't do it because of how her mother died.
But the drugs were allegedly obtained anyway through a Spanish security guard.
She also testified about prescription drugs being obtained in her name, carried in a toiletry bag, or by security.
And handling large amounts of cash, 100,000 euros coming back from Europe.
From club bookings, she said. Described the handling. Him keeping it, giving it to security, then into his personal bedroom safe.
Now, shifting to Cassie's relationship with Diddy, Clark offered her perspective on that too.
Yeah, she admitted they didn't always get along, especially around 2008. Felt Cassie got more bravado as his girlfriend.
Thought Cassie believed Clark was just paid to help her. Saw Cassie change from a sweet model to a feisty girlfriend.
Clark had opinions on Cassie's talent as well. Said she was beautiful, had some talent, but ultimately not talented.
Called her more of a studio musician, needing technical help. Equalized, not the equalizer. Said her live performances weren't great.
And her work ethic. Worked hard at times, Clark testified, but preferred being with her boyfriend.
Despite those opinions, Clark acknowledged Diddy heavily supported Cassie's career.
Oh yeah, stylists, musicians, all the components to make her a star. Clark felt Cassie got more help than other artists on the label.
She made a strong statement. Between 2007 and 2010, the lion's share of Bad Boy was on Cassie.
Compared her support to Young Jock, that group from Atlanta, French Montana, implying it was disproportionate.
Then, when Clark came back in 2016, she was actually working for Cassie.
Right, Cassie had a new deal with Epic. Clark's role was managing her image, maximizing optics.
But Sean Combs, Diddy, still had final approval on everything related to Cassie's work, according to Clark.
She mentioned specific projects from that time, dressing Cassie like David Bowie for a shoot at Clark's house.
Writing and shooting a mini-movie, Love a Loser, Official Girl, King of Hearts videos mentioned too.
And creating that VMA look with the neon yellow hair. The defense asked if Cassie was forced into that.
Clark testified, no, she presented the idea, Cassie liked it, it wasn't forced.
Okay, now let's get into the alleged kidnapping incident. December 2011. This is a major part of her testimony.
Right. She testified she learned about Cassie dating Kid Cudi in fall 2011. Cassie even brought him to Clark's apartment.
Clark thought they were just getting to know each other after Thanksgiving. She picked Cassie up from Cudi's place maybe a week before the incident, after Cassie spent the night.
And crucially, she testified she took Cassie to Best Buy to get a burner phone.
Telling her explicitly, you cannot do this on your bad boy phone. Highlighting the need for secrecy from Diddy, Clark said she knew about burners from L.A.
Around this time, Diddy was supposedly out of the country? Kazakhstan?
Yeah, at an orphanage in Almaty, she heard. Or maybe Russia, somewhere far away.
Then, early morning, December 26, 2011, 5:36 a.m., banging on Clark's door in NYC.
West End Avenue. She looks through the people, sees a furious Puff pacing, holding something.
She opens the door, describes him wearing a button-down sweater, torn pants, holding a gun.
He comes in, allegedly says, why you didn't tell me who is Scott? Scott being Kid Cudi.
Clark says she doesn't know a Scott. He allegedly replies, we're going to unallow this ninja.
The gun, she said, was in his hand. Not pointed right at her initially, but later clarified on cross-exam as waved it around.
She testified she didn't want to go, was scared, but he allegedly said, I don't give a fuck what you want, get dressed.
She felt she couldn't escape, noted he'd never come to her house before, so she got dressed.
Ruben, apparently security, joins them. Black Escalade, Ruben driving.
And Diddy gets in the back seat next to Clark, which she said was unusual, gun on his lap.
The drive to Kid Cudi's house, Hollywood Hills. 15-20 minutes, if you push it, fast.
At Cudi's, Diddy and Reuben go inside. Clark can see in from the car.
And while they're inside, she calls Cassie on the burner phone. Cassie, where the fuck are you? Tells her Puff is at Cudi's house.
Then she changes Cassie's contact name in her phone to her friend Stormy's name. Quick thinking.
Here's on the phone that Scott Cudi isn't even there. He's at Cassie's place.
Diddy comes back to the car, grabs Clark's phone, calls the last number dialed Cassie.
As they're leaving, Clark sees Cudi driving up. Diddy sees her face react, allegedly says, there's that ninja right there.
They drive off fast, see police heading towards Cudi's house. She described Diddy pulling himself together.
They stop at the Key Club. Diddy tells Clark to call Cassie again.
The message he wants relayed. That he has Clark and won't let her go.
Cassie's alleged response, according to Clark, just, okay, come and get me. Clark described her as calm.
After that, Reuben drove Clark home. But Diddy allegedly told Clark to convince Cudi not to file a police report.
Tell him it wasn't Diddy at his house. So Clark picks up Cassie, they go to Cudi's house together.
And she tries to talk Cudi down. Tells him Puff came to her house with a gun, warns him, if you tell on him, he'll hurt us all.
The source noted Cudi's reaction was described as mind-blown, but that specific description was disregarded by the jury.
Clark also testified about witnessing a separate alleged physical assault on Cassie.
This happened at Diddy's house sometime after the alleged kidnapping incident.
She testified she saw Diddy kicking Cassie again and again.
Described Cassie in a fetal position, crying silently. Kicked repeatedly in the back, her backside. Clark's voice cracked, recalling this, the source said.
She testified she was only about 5 feet away. Rubin was also there, about 5 feet away too.
And Diddy allegedly warned them both, if you jump in, I'm gonna fuck you up too.
And Rubin did nothing, she testified.
So Clark testified she called Drock, another associate. Tell your brother to stop Puff, he is kicking the shit out of her.
And called Paulie, who apparently he'd handle it.
Diddy then allegedly told Clark to get the fuck out too, she left on foot.
Said she could still see Cassie allegedly being kicked until she turned the corner.
Then she called Cassie's mother, Regina Ventura, told her flat out, he's kicking the shit out of your daughter.
Said she couldn't call the police then, but Regina could, her reason for not calling immediately. The mission was dealing with the cutie fallout.
Wow. Okay, the source also mentions an email from Cassie brought up by the prosecution.
Yeah, allegedly saying Diddy threatened to release sex tapes about Clark and have someone hurt her in Cutie. Clark didn't recall responding.
She also testified arson investigators called her later. Cootie gave them her name.
She hung up, said she just wanted it all to be over.
And she testified about direct threats from Diddy to her. I should unalive you, bitches. I should cut her face.
Claimed he threatened her maybe 50 times in total. And alleged Drock was often there, doubling down on the threats.
She testified she told Harf Pierre, the president of Bad Boy Records, about the alleged kidnapping.
His alleged response, that's crazy, but it's going to be okay.
Then she gets terminated. The reason given, not putting in for vacation properly.
Which she denied, saying she had, and Harf Pierre knew.
The consequences were severe, she testified. Lost benefits, health, 401k, her house, her car, everything.
And Diddy allegedly told her she'd never work again, that he'd make her unalive myself.
She testified she couldn't get a job, had an offer fall through, mentioned trying to work with Chris Lighty,
who died the day before she was supposed to start. And trying at Interscope, being told to leave Puff alone, claimed she was blacklisted.
Although the source notes that blacklisted claim was objected to and sustained, so the jury disregarded that specific term.
She eventually reached a settlement with Diddy, October 2012. The amount wasn't discussed due to an objection and sidebar.
And she confirmed she has no other pending litigation against him besides that settlement.
But then, despite all that history, she went back to work for him in 2016.
Her stated reason was stark. No one else would hire me.
And this time she was working for Cassie, managing her image under the Epic deal, but still needing Diddy's final approval.
She testified that during that period, 2016-17, Cassie was taking more drugs, had addiction problems, and was still dating Mr. Combs.
So fast forward to now, or close to now. Why testify? She retained an attorney in December 2023.
Said she was traumatized reading Cassie's civil complaint, even though Clark wasn't mentioned in it.
And she testified she reached out to Diddy around then, saying, I want my life back. You kidnapped me. That statement was allowed over objection.
Then the cross-examination revealed something more recent, a meeting in April 2024.
Yes, Mr. Aguillo, the defense attorney, brought it up. Clark confirmed meeting with Diddy's lawyers, Freeman and Garagos.
And discussing working for Diddy again, as chief of staff.
She confirmed the discussion happened, professionally, lawyer to lawyer. Didn't recall being told she couldn't get a job mid-investigation.
Her reason for considering returning in 2016 was, she said, to show the industry she wasn't disposable because Diddy held all the power.
And the reason for the 2024 meeting, to get my life back, she testified, seemed tied to resolving the past and her employment issues.
Okay, so the cross-examination by Agnolo dug into a lot of this.
Absolutely. He highlighted that April 2024 meeting, the job discussion, questioned her opinion about Cassie and Diddy being toxic.
Went back to her early days in the Bronx, meeting Diddy after 9/11.
Asked about Diddy's drug use, Clark saying it got worse over time, mentioning ecstasy at Daddy's house.
Then Agnolo brought out old text messages from Clark to Diddy.
Yeah, asked her to read ones where she said she had the biggest crush on him, wondering if they misused all that dope chemistry.
Called him chalk for chocolate in one, suggesting a different dynamic maybe. Source noted objections and a sidebar there.
He questioned her music background claims. She clarified her influences. Talked about how she got the job initially, Monster.com, impressed by his acting, shadowing him.
Revisited the jewelry theft timeline. Confirmed it was 4 months in, after the white party, lie detector next day. Confirmed she never told HR.
Talked about being briefly fired, then unfired after helping at his birthday party. Cited the pay difference again, $65K versus $90K later.
Her reason for coming back the first time, success with R. Kelly impressed Combs. He asked her back for Sean John Women's.
She maintained I think I was a really good employee. Denied he called her awesome, but stressed she worked harder than others.
And she got emotional during Cross, right? Calling him a glass ceiling breaker.
Yeah, almost crying, the source said. When asked if she needed a minute, she said, "It's just complicated." Shows the complex feelings.
Cross-exam also revisited the alleged kidnapping details. The burner phone reason. Could not do this on your bad boy phone.
Confirmed the security guard who let Diddy in got fired. Clarified the gun was waved it around. Said she went because he didn't care she didn't want to. Saw security near the Escalade.
Said she wasn't focused on Cutie's door, just praying he wasn't there. Mentioned Cassie having 2 rooms. Reaffirmed calling security, saying Puff had a gun very quickly.
Ignolo asked about Lauren London being on the phone call from the car. Clark seemed uncertain, maybe part of the time. Mentioned being scared of mountain lions or coyotes. Maybe Lauren heard that bet.
Confirmed Lauren Diddy stayed friends. Lauren and Cassie were play sisters.
She reconfirmed seeing Diddy kicking Cassie on the street. Confirmed hanging up on the fire inspector. Mentioned vacationing with Rihanna after being fired.
The Chris Lighty job attempt came up again, his death, and the Interscope situation, being told to leave Puff alone. The sustained objection to blacklisted.
Ignolo read more emails. These from 2015. One day you'll forgive me. Your grace period to be mad at me has surpassed.
And crucially, she was never my friend. She wanted me gone, I realized. Ignolo asked if she thought Cassie wanted her fired.
And she got emotional again, crying. Explained that email was her pleading with Diddy, like, dude, let it go. Said she was hurt, believed Cassie wanted her gone, felt singled out while Cassie stayed, tried to stay professional.
She described feeling like Diddy's protector sometimes, wanting to inspire him.
But also heard he might take her back only because Cassie wanted it. Mentioned her higher stakes. No parents, autistic son.
So wrapping this up, Capricorn Clark's testimony, based on the source, covered an incredible amount of ground.
Yeah, alleged threats, the detailed kidnapping account with a gun, harsh working conditions, witnessing and experiencing alleged violence, drug allegations.
Plus all the complex dynamics with Diddy, with Cassie, just layers upon layers.
And it's vital to remember, this is one testimony within an ongoing trial. The source shows the defense is actively challenging her account. The jury hears both sides.
Her testimony, as reported, definitely paints a stark picture of alleged power imbalances and intense relationships. It's one crucial perspective.
Exactly. This deep dive, using just the source material you provided, gives you a really detailed look into the scope of what this witness presented.
Helps you get a handle on the sheer complexity of her allegations and her story.
And it leaves us with something to think about, right? When you have these conflicting accounts, these incredibly complex relationships, especially involving power, how do we even begin to evaluate testimony like this?
What does an account like Clark's, spanning years, detailing all these alleged events and feelings, tell us about the real challenges of finding the truth when power dynamics are so central to the narrative?